Picture this. Three of the most iconic idols in the entire K-pop world. Three names, each capable of shaking a stage with a single step. Three artists from different agencies, SM Entertainment and Hybe, who by all logic should have had no reason to become close friends. But the reality, they're not just acquaintances. They're not just following each other on social media. They are genuine best friends who have spent years sharing secrets, lifting each other up behind the scenes, and being a place of refuge for one another in the middle of this ruthless, unforgiving industry. And today we are going to uncover all of those hidden moments, conversations that were never caught on camera, confessions that slipped out during interviews, and small gestures that turned out to carry enormous meaning. Are you ready? Because this isn't gossip, this is fact. And the facts are far more surprising than anything you could have imagined. To truly understand this friendship, we have to go way, way back. Long before Jimin became a name recognized around the world, long before Taemin was crowned the god of dance in K-pop, and long before Kai became the unreachable standard for visuals and stage performance. It all started with one person, Timoteo from Hotshot. Timoteo was a long-time SM Entertainment trainee. During that time, he became very close with two people, Taemin and Kai. These three, along with a non-celebrity friend named Jung Kwon-ho, were already close even before any camera ever pointed at them. They weren't just training friends, they grew up together, they ate together, they celebrated milestones together. Kai even attended Taemin's segment on "We Got Married" alongside Kwon-ho. That wasn't just a formality, that was a sign of a friendship already deeply rooted. Then the group grew. Kai brought in VIXX's Ravi, and then came Ha Sung-woon, who was with Hotshot at the time and later won a 1. But Jimin, he was the last one to join, and the way he entered this circle is one of the most endearing stories in all of K-pop. Sung-woon had already been friends with BTS's jhope and Suga since his trainee days. Through them, he met Jimin. And the moment they met, the chemistry was instant and electric. They clicked so naturally that Sung-woon couldn't help but introduce Jimin to his old friend group. And just like that, Jimin was in, and K-pop was never quite the same. The most iconic cross-agency friendship group in the industry was officially complete. Fans would later give them a legendary name, Padding Friends, also known as the Paka Squad. But why Padding Friends? Where did that name even come from? This is one of the sweetest details that most people overlook. Taemin, yes, Lee Taemin, the same person we often see performing with a cool, mysterious charisma on stage, had quietly been holding on to a very warm little dream in his heart for a long time. He wanted to have a friend group with matching padding jackets and their own unique logo. And he didn't just dream about it, he made it happen. Taemin bought every single member of the group the same padding jacket. Then for their logo, he asked everyone to take a photo of their hand, making a peace sign, 2 fingers up. Those photos were combined together and the Padding Friends logo was born. Just think about that. Behind all the glitter and glamour of the K-pop industry, behind packed schedules and inhumane pressure, Taemin chose to build this friendship in the most simple and meaningful way imaginable. Everyone who heard this story for the first time melted instantly. And honestly, that's completely understandable because it's so genuinely human. But what's even more surprising than the origin of the name is what Taemin revealed about how they actually interact with each other within the group. This is where the first leak begins. In an interview that left many people speechless, Taemin revealed something that few people would have expected. When we're together, we completely set aside our identities as singers and idols. We treat each other just like regular people, like older brothers and younger brothers. That's why we almost never talk about work. They don't talk about work. Among 3 idols with the level of achievement that Taemin, Kai and Jimin have, they choose not to discuss their careers when they're together. No competition, no comparing album sales or chart positions. They simply exist for one another as human beings. In an industry that is relentlessly competitive, that is anything but a small thing. It's proof that their friendship was built on a foundation far deeper than their status as idols. Now let's get into the part that most people don't know about. Before Jimin and Taemin became best friends, There's one fact that makes absolutely everyone smile the moment they hear it. Jimin was a hardcore fan of Taemin. Not a casual fan, a hardcore devoted fan. The type who quietly admired from a distance, who was completely in awe every time he watched his idol perform, but was too shy to openly show it. And how do we know this? Not from Jimin himself, but from Han Sang-woon, the best eyewitness this friendship has ever had. Sang-woon shared a moment that happened during a Mama Awards show. He wasn't able to be at the venue that day due to other commitments, so he was keeping in touch with Jimin through chat. And Jimin, who was already at the venue, sent him a message that read, "Wow, I'm serious. Taemin Hyung is so incredibly cool." Sang-woon got curious and asked what was happening. Jimin replied, "The moment Taemin Hyung started performing, it was all over. Nobody can even come close to him." Just imagine that. Park Jimin, an idol already recognized worldwide for his own extraordinary dancing, was literally standing in a crowd, absolutely blown away watching Taemin perform. And Sang-woon, laughing as he told the story, admitted, "When I introduced you two, I was honestly a little jealous." Jimin said he was a fan of Taemin Hyung. "After that, you two immediately got close and even ended up performing together. I was the one who introduced you and I got left behind." Funny and heartwarming at the same time, right? But the story doesn't stop there. Because after becoming best friends, Jimin no longer just admired Taemin from afar. He became one of the most sincerely supportive people in his senior's life. The proof? In BTS's album, Jimin wrote a thanks to message specifically mentioning Taemin by name. Taemini Hyung, Mungyu Hyung, Kwonho Hyung, Jonggini Hyung, Sang-wooni Hyung. Thank you so much. Because of you all, I really enjoy every single day. And in the following album, he wrote again, "To the Hyungs I cherish and love, Timo Hyung, Sang-woon Hyung, Taemini Hyung, Kwonho Hyung, Jonggini Hyung. Since I meet you all as often as I meet my own members, it feels almost embarrassing to write these words. But because of you Hyungs, I enjoy every day. Now it's the Maknai's turn to treat you all. I love you." Twice in a row, in 2 separate albums, Jimin named every single one of them, including Taemin and Kai, in the most personal section of his entire album. If that isn't a deep and genuine friendship, what is? Now let's talk about Kai Kim Jongin, EXO's Kai. If Jimin is the sincere fan and the warmest younger brother of the group, then Kai is something entirely different. He is the most honest friend. And nothing proves that more clearly than the moments surrounding Taemin's mini-album, Want, released in 2019. At the press conference for the album, Taemin spoke about how the people closest to him had reacted after hearing the album, and naturally he talked about his padding friends. About Kai, Taemin said, "Kai complimented me by saying that the final version was so much better than the demo he had heard earlier." That might sound simple on the surface, but for anyone who understands the music industry, this is deeply meaningful. Kai had already listened to the demo, the raw, rough, unpolished version, and compared it critically and honestly to the final product. That is not an empty, polite compliment. That is feedback from someone who was genuinely listening with full attention. About Jimin, Taemin added, "Jimin said that I am someone who truly knows what I'm doing. 2 different reactions, 2 different personalities. Kai, the critical analyst, Jimin, the wholehearted believer." And Taemin, who had already been in the industry for 12 years at that point, admitted that both of their opinions meant the world to him. Not because they flattered him, but because they spoke with sincerity, without pretense, from hearts that genuinely cared. But there's one more moment with Kai that rarely gets discussed. At Mama 2017, one of the biggest award shows in K-pop, a camera caught a moment that went instantly viral. While Jimin was performing on stage, a camera panned to the audience, and sitting there in the crowd were Taemin and Kai, 2 absolute superstars in their own right, watching Jimin's performance with expressions they couldn't even begin to hide. Not ordinary expressions. These were the expressions of people who are proud. People who knew exactly how hard their best friend had trained for that very moment. People who were watching not as fellow idols but as friends who knew that person on stage better than almost anyone else in the world. That fancam spread across the entire internet, and fans from all three fandoms, ARMY, SEoul and EXO, forgot about every rivalry, every fan war, and simply smiled together. 2023 became a very special year for the friendship between Taemin and Jimin. And this is the part that most people either don't know about or have already forgotten, because the news was swept away in the never-ending flood of K-pop content every single day. SHINee made a comeback with the album Hard. In the middle of a packed promotional schedule, Taemin unexpectedly did a TikTok challenge with Jimin at the Hybe practice studio, BTS's home base. That didn't happen because of a contract or an agency request. It happened because two best friends who missed each other wanted to do the one thing they both love most, dance together. And the result? K-pop shook. The video went viral within hours. But more important than the video itself was what Taemin said afterward on his personal Instagram live. In a relaxed, candid tone, Taemin spoke about Jimin. Jimin is a truly good friend. He has such incredibly positive energy, he's enormously talented, and his dancing style, his artistic character, so much of it is similar to mine. That's why our chemistry feels so natural. When two people already share the same artistic vision, that chemistry is just there. Taemin, who is famously reserved when it comes to expressing his feelings out loud, chose to say all of that in front of the public. Not in a prepared interview, not at a press conference with PR staff behind the scenes, but on Instagram Live, spontaneously, straight from the heart. And it wasn't the first time. Earlier, on an episode of Ravi's Close-Up, a show hosted by VIXX's Ravi, who's also a member of the Padding Friends, Taemin was asked to describe each member of their group. About Jimin, Taemin said softly, "Jimin is truly a wonderful younger brother, and he has become so incredibly successful." There is real, genuine pride behind those words. Taemin, who debuted years before Jimin and watched him grow from a trainee into one of the most beloved idols in the entire world, witnessed every step of that journey with his own eyes. And he was proud. Not jealous, not competitive, simply purely proud. That is exactly what makes this friendship so different from so many friendships in this industry that are often nothing more than PR strategy in disguise. You cannot talk about Taemin, Kai and Jimin without talking about the one thread that ties everything together: dance. Taemin, Kai, Jimin. These three names are not in the same circle by accident. They found each other precisely because they recognized something in one another. As fellow artists who pour absolutely everything into every single movement. Before Jimin ever knew Taemin personally, he had already acknowledged Taemin as one of the biggest influences on his journey as a dancer. Taemin, from a generation before, had already rewritten the standard for what it means to perform on a K-pop stage. Kai, he was Taemin's label mate at SM, someone who grew up watching firsthand how Taemin trained, how he prepared, and how he built his artistic identity one move at a time. And the three of them completely organically shaped each other. The most iconic moment that proves this happened at the KBS Music Festival 2016 when Taemin and Jimin performed together on one stage. It wasn't just a collaboration, it was a collision of two different but deeply complementary artistic standards, and the result left everyone watching completely breathless. After the performance, they were seen embracing. A genuine smile, a warm hug. Not the formal, stiff kind of greeting between idols, but to people who had just shared a stage with their entire souls and knew exactly what that moment meant to both of them. Taemin later revealed that during their preparations for that performance, he and Jimin had joked around about their heights. Apparently, both of them had a habit of trying to look slightly taller than the other by standing on their toes. They were caught on camera doing exactly that with the most serious expressions imaginable, before both completely broke down laughing. It was an unscripted, unplanned moment, but it was a human moment, and it's exactly what makes all of us fall in love with their friendship over and over again. Behind all those public moments, there are so many things that have never been fully told, so many conversations between them that no camera was ever there to capture. Conversations during the moments when one of them was falling apart, when schedules felt crushing, when the industry felt deeply unfair, when the spotlight became a burden too heavy to carry. We will never know exactly what they said to each other in those moments. But from everything they have shared publicly, we can feel one thing with absolute clarity. They were there for each other. Taemin buying everyone matching jackets in the middle of his insane schedule as a top-tier idol. That was not a small thing. Kai listening to Taemin's demo before anyone else, then giving honest, thoughtful feedback. That is not the habit of someone who only knows you on the surface. Jimin writing all of their names in his thanks to section twice across 2 separate albums when everyone knows how precious and limited that space is for any idol. That was not a formality. And Taemin in the middle of the night on an unplanned Instagram live, calling Jimin a truly good friend in the softest and most sincere voice. That was not a script. That is a real friendship. One that grew not because of benefit, one that lasted not out of obligation, one that showed up not because of cameras. Taemin, Jimin. 3 names, each individually powerful enough to shake the world. But together, they have proven something that is incredibly rare to see in an industry as massive as this one. That behind all the spotlights, all the recordings, all the trophies, there are real human beings who need each other, who lift each other up, who choose to show up for one another, not because of a contract, but because of the heart. And perhaps that is the greatest secret they have ever kept, hiding in plain sight, right in front of all of us. Not a dramatic, leaked conversation, not a shocking scandal, but something far rarer than any of that. A friendship that is real, in a world that is so often not. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment below. Which one of the 3 do you think is the true soul of the Padding Friends? See you in the next video. Waving hand sign.